Hello, we're outside the wall, and I'm here with Evil Dex,
Hello.
and today we're missing Wally, our intellectual fuckwit who has missed one of the greatest romance movies that he could have seen with us, Jerry Maguire. This is Tom Cruise film that came out in '96, directed by Cameron Crowe, who has also done Almost Famous, a film that I haven't seen but plan on watching someday. And Evil Dex, if you'd like to start with your thoughts about it.
Okay. So this is a movie that I don't have too much to say about. My basic impression boils down to it's all right. It's a sort of drama romance movie about Tom Cruise as a formerly greedy sports agent who sees the error of his ways and tries to kind of reform the business and the challenges he goes through. He's meant to have a his love interest is Renee Zellweger, who I don't really like as an actress, playing a character named Dorothy Boyd, but his actual love interest is Rod Tidwell, played by Gooding Jr. So one thing that I particularly noticed, to say, in this is that all three main characters overact quite considerably. I think this is something that's true of Tom Cruise in particular, in basically every single role he's in. But in this movie, it's really extreme. He's shouting with like extreme over exaggerated gesticulations in every single scene. I found that got a little bit tiring. In contrast, though, it actually has relatively good child acting from the kid who would later go on to play like the main boy in Stuart Little. So that was kind of all right. Narratively, it pretty much follows the beaten path for romance films like this. They go through that sort of perfunctory slump in the middle where they're mad at each other, but of course come back in the end. This movie has the famous romantic movie line, "You had me at hello" from Renee Zellweger, which I didn't know going into it. I knew of the line, but I didn't know that it was from this movie in particular. So and that was all right. That scene was not too bad. It was, but I don't think it was for me the sort of thing that would go down as a like famous movie scene. So that's all I'll say about it, I guess. And move on to you, Raim.
Yeah, so well, that scene I always remember actually not much for the "You Had Me at Hello," but for Tom's "You Complete Me." So
Oh
yeah,
yes.
that's the one that has me. So I had actually seen already Jerry Maguire many years ago when I was a teenager, and back then I know that I enjoyed it because I was actually the one that had mentioned this film, like we were interested in watching it. And I would say that on a rewatch, it didn't seem that well with me. I definitely wanted to to enjoy it, but didn't really click with me as much as I wanted to. Like Able to say that Jerry Maguire's real love interest, Cuba Gooding Jr. Cuba Gooding Jr.'s Rod. Uh, I kind of would have wanted to see more of like their bromance of well, Jerry at the start he's this agent, sports agent, and he has like this epiphany as he puts it, where they will should have less clients and have a more personal relationship with their clients, and not just treat them like just another number, which I thought that was really nice about a guy that's very much is a salesman basically, salesman marketing guy, and he's very much about maximizing the best that he can get about the best athletes that they can go out there regardless about the injuries that they go through. And but he realizes that they are people too, and he should worry about them, not just basically overwork them with all of the kinds of meetings that they could have, all the ads that they should go through, etc., etc. And I would have wanted to see more of that salesman spirit of Jerry Maguire, of him going out there getting new clients, but still keeping it. I think the really the my favorite scenes are the ones between Jerry Maguire and Rod. The infamous phone call where he's fighting to keep Rod with him, while the his let's say rival that has Bob Sugar has basically fired him I've been told that he was fired and he's still in love with his client, or he's doing that on a Falcon. He has stayed that infamous scene of show me the money, show me the money. I actually like that scene. I still like it. I think it's very fun, and very much all the interactions are great. But I feel the film really slows down through the middle of it. It gets really bogged down. I'm not so much of a fan of the romance, of the main romance that you could say between Rena Zellweger. I'm also not much of a fan of her, but I think that upon the rewatch, I kind of prefer her this time around than when I did the first time. But yeah, I would have wanted to see more of Jerry and Rod interacting, and Jerry going out there to get a few more clients, and or at least show that he tried to get more clients but failed on it, like trying to see his strengths as a salesman. Yeah, that's my initial thoughts on it.
Okay. So the reason we came to this movie essentially is this idea of the bromance between the two characters. I think that's kind of a subgenre of movies that we were interested in for a while, with Top Gun, another Tom Cruise feature, and Point Break being two very good examples, two extremely homoerotic movies. And I
Yeah,
think we can probably both agree that we liked both of those better, probably as movies and as romance movies compared to this one.
yeah, yeah, definitely. We started with Top Gun, if I remember. No, or with Point Break. I don't remember which one we saw first.
I don't know either.
Yeah, I think it was Top Gun actually. But yeah, between it and Point Break, those are two movies that I I I, I will enjoy rewatching. At least just on Bromance alone, they have a lot of also like iconic lines, and like I remember the Point Break when Bowie tells Utah that you want me so bad like it's acid on your mouth. I remember the first time I actually heard that line, I thought he was saying, I know you want me so bad like acid in your mouth.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
which he might as well have been saying, because that's probably the gayest of the three movies.
yeah, definitely. And
Yeah, so that was my second time watching Top Gun, but my first time watching Point Break, and I think Top Gun in particular is a movie that I'd be happy to watch multiple times, just because of the sort of severe cheesiness factor, as well as the. It's amusing to me that because that's another one where he's supposed to have the female love interest, but really Val Kilmer is his real love interest. That's very clear throughout the film.
yeah, Mavericks and Iceman interactions are really drive it
Yeah,
home there.
they have that sort of aggressive sexual tension going, which is fun to watch.
Yeah, like again the iconic lines at the end when he says that you can be my wingman anytime.
Yeah, yeah. There's also a scene in that one where all the guys are sitting in a room like hearing about military tech, and one guy says to his partner, "This gives me a hard on," to which his partner responds, "Don't tease me." So, in
Yeah,
case anybody thinks that we're going out on a limb here, I think it's quite clear in that example.
definitely. Yeah, I think in that case, as I mentioned, the as the will they say that the overacting with Tom and Cuba Gooding Jr. Their interactions are really what I remember and like the most. Like when Tom Jerry Maguire goes to look for Rockwell on the I think the showers, and he says that help you,
Yeah,
and I
yeah. Raim's been posting the GIF version of that scene every time he gets a chance, ever since we saw this film.
yeah, I mean those are lines that I remember for life. And I think and when it comes to romance movies that came out around the same time, and that also have Cuba Gooding Jr. in it. We saw in the past As Good as It Gets, and I feel that's a better romance movie as a whole. It's not as well. It doesn't have as a bromance in it, but I feel that Melvin's romance with which is Jack Nicholson's character with Helen Hunt. which I think Carol was in her surname, is a lot more endearing and better shown than. Well, I don't feel it drags as much as it does sometimes between what is Jerry Maguire's romance with Dorothy. And I remember that we had commented that at times I felt that Melvin of me, reminded me of myself with some of his social awkwardness when trying to be with Carol.
Yeah, so I think it's a good comparison between those two movies, and they're both kind of a more serious-minded approach to romance, you might almost say. So in Jerry Maguire's case, it has that sort of, you could almost say, social commentary aspect of him trying to reform the agent business, and then in As Good as It Gets, you have like a severe depression almost that Jack Nicholson's character has to deal with. Like, is it kind of that sort of tone as well? And I agree that I definitely like As Good as It Gets better are the two of them. Romance isn't really my genre. I think I would say As Good as It Gets is probably one of my favorite like romance movies overall. But I'm still not a huge fan of it or anything.
I think I have a softer side for romance. Um, I know some people have said that my favorite movies have this romance undertone to them. This
Yeah,
being
yeah, we made that.
Cinema Paradiso, Groundhog Day, Truman Show, and The Princess Bride, and
Yeah,
Scott Pilgrim versus the World. But
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
We
I
made that comparison before because not basically none of my favorites have that romance unless you count the end of Evangelion.
definitely not. I probably have the softer spot of it from the three of us. Well, if you will say about romance movies, definitely neither Jerry Maguire nor As Good as It Gets are as high up there as the ones that I mentioned. I think if we talk about like more, let's say, happier romance, Groundhog Day and Princess Bride are really up there. When it comes to a serious one, then yeah, probably Cinema Paradiso has a better one there for me.
Yeah,
And
yeah. So now you say that, I would agree. I like any of those three films better compared to As Good as It Gets.
which yeah, we had seen together that the three of those.
Yeah,
Yeah, I know that at least Groundhog Day you really like of them.
yeah. That's definitely my favorite movie out of those three. It's not really because of the romance, though. In the case of that one,
Yeah, as I mentioned, it's not like it's more of a like I mentioned they have a romance undertone, but it's not necessarily the focus of them. There's really a lot more going in them, and
yeah.
I feel it doesn't detract from it either.
No, it is good. I think I like it better than like Jack Nicholson's interactions with his love interest in As Good as It Gets. But yeah, the main appeal of that movie is seeing him go through this, what appears to be at first a curse of repeating this day over and over again, and then find ways to make peace with it and make use of it.
Yeah, coming to Groundhog Day, I think I'll keep it short so because I believe we may discuss it more in the future. But yeah, Phil's arc romance is something that I do like to see go through. Um, but when it comes to something like As Good as It Gets, it's definitely yeah a more serious approach of it. But I will mention that when I will mention better romance, it's also better romance than several movies that we have seen. Like recently, we have discussed about The Lost Boys, and we all agreed that the romance of that film is definitely the weakest part of it. And these
Yeah,
movies definitely have a more stronger, a stronger representation of them, and one that we could say that it's at least well done.
yeah. So The Lost Boys is a good eloquent example of how not to do a romance movie. Another movie that I watched recently that I actually really like, but has a quite a weak romance, is a Goofy movie actually, where romance is kind of used to allow the central conflict, but it could also probably have just been removed entirely, and we wouldn't really have suffered very much from it. And the female love interest isn't a very interesting character, and that she's probably the weakest character in the whole movie from a narrative perspective.
Yeah, that's something that we can say that at least the movies that or the romance we have like they are sometimes the focus of it, and other times are not necessarily fully the focus of it, but they do um, tie in with the story in a way that strengthens it rather than brings it down, which is something that we felt a lot with The Lost Boys. I can't speak about the Goofy movie, but I expected I was expecting actually something like that from you.
Yeah. I think in Disney movies in general, you can say that the romance is usually not really the strong point. So they all kind of feel rushed and perfunctory to a certain extent.
Are we just talking about standard? We're also including Pixar films.
Yeah, like actual Disney movies. Although maybe it applies to Pixar as well. I think Pixar has a lot more movies that don't have a romance in them though.
I
Yeah,
mean,
so we can talk about the Fox and the Hound too, since we watched that together. I think the romance in that one, actually, both because of the romance and because that's definitely a bromance movie, and the romance in that one feels very forced. It's like, okay, we gotta have a girl fox.
yeah, yeah, definitely the bromance aspect of it is the better part, and also the fact that I think as you mentioned before, you have this thing for clashing friend rivalries.
Yeah, that's what I really like about the Fox and the Hound, particularly, is that you have the romance that's kind of takes this almost tragic turn where they are forced to become enemies.
Yeah, yeah, I actually like that part of it. They're basically raised to be in the opposite sides of what we could say the natural ecosystem, and I think that's actually done really well in it. It's by one of the reasons why I enjoyed it. It's not I wouldn't say it's one of the I wouldn't like it as much as other animated films that we've seen, including Disney ones. Like I say, The Lion King is a lot better than in The Fox and the Hound. But regarding the
Yeah,
bromance
definitely.
and how the both parties come to clash towards the end, and I thought that was nice. That was worth watching.
Yeah, like I think maybe mid to low tier in terms of like proper Disney movies, but it's definitely the one that belongs in this kind of discussion the most, as far as I know.
Definitely.
Pixar's Pixar's has a very much a romance movie in the form of Monsters Inc., which is basically about a gay couple raising an adopted child.
I was going to mention that when it comes to romance in picture film, I think the one of the best romance representations is in Up. Uh, the
Okay.
the the starting sequence is very powerful and
Yeah, that
basically
part's beautiful.
yeah it's beautiful. I mean if that had been just like one of the standard Pixar shorts, that would
It
be
would be the best one by
uh,
a mile. Yeah.
yeah that is very
Okay, so when it comes to Pixar and romance, I think The Incredibles definitely deserves mention. It's not as like directly romantic. It kind of deals with the nitty gritty of a long term romantic relationship. I think that's a really great movie. It does that in a very touching and also quite intelligent way.
yeah the Incredibles is one of my favorite Pixar films. Uh,
Yeah, I think it's probably my favorite Pixar.
yeah, I mean, Up and Incredibles are definitely my favorites. And yeah, Cars. In what I was going to mention is that not just the starting sequence, but the fact that Up is basically like the entire film. You could say the plot is Cars' ultimate love letter to his wife is really powerful, and that movie really touched me. So really gets to me. And when it comes
Yeah,
to The Incredibles, yeah, I think it's one of the better romances, yeah, between Mr. and Mrs. Incredible. It's an established relationship, we could say, but it's very nice to see how it's still done very well. It's not I would say ideal. It's not perfect, but it is a very strong bond between them, and then the family interactions. There is basically we could say today the perfect Fantastic Four film if there ever made a good Fantastic Four film.
yeah. So definitely their marriage isn't perfect, and that fact kind of enhances the quality of it from a filmmaking perspective or a storytelling perspective.
Yeah, yeah, no, The Incredibles also one of the best
Yeah.
picture romances out there.
Yeah, so if we're talking about animated romances, I guess I should take a second to like big up Cats Don't Dance again. And what I particularly like about the romance in that movie is that it's more convincing than normal because they have a bond. The two lead characters, Danny and Sawyer, have a bond that's enhanced by their mutual love of performance. Basically, you can tell that Danny is attracted to her from the start, but he becomes much more attracted to her when he finds out that she's a dancer. That's kind of the element of it of that particular one that I especially like.
You're saying that you like that he was also attracted to her because of her talent.
Yeah, and
Right.
because they share that passion, so it's something that they can do together. There's like a scene where they dance together that kind of constitutes the major development of their relationship, and that's one of the best parts of the whole movie.
Yeah, that's something that I will agree with also as a principle in life. So yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
you want to meet somebody that you can do things with, that you can share your central passions.
definitely. I think just as a short commentary because we will discuss this film next week, but I also like the romance in Mr. Fox.
Yeah, that's a great example as well. That's another one where, like The Incredibles, they go through those hardships that make it more interesting and more believable. One of
And
the best lines in that movie is when Mrs. Fox says, "I love you, but I shouldn't have married you."
yeah, that really hit me too. But I'll suppress more of those comments because that's the one we will definitely discuss more next week with Wally,
Yeah,
and we should keep it to that. But yeah, just another example of great romance that isn't necessarily tied to a live action film, and it's also better than many live action films as Lost Boys.
definitely.
Definitely, yeah. I think since we're we're discussing about many romances that we've seen and discuss and romances or rivalries, I should mention that I also enjoyed the Prestige and what the interactions that come with between the magicians of Alfred and Robert and Year, Borden and Year.
Yeah, that's a really good movie. I'm not sure if I picked up on the interactions between them as like the particularly good part of it, though. Personally, I think maybe I was just too entranced by David Bowie to focus on anything else when we watched that.
Yeah, yeah. No, I think we focus a lot of several aspects of romance. I think if we talk about also unintended romances, we could say it will be Once Upon a Time in the West. Uh,
Yeah,
there
that's a
there
great example.
there's an example between Harmonica and Frank towards the end before they're about to have their epic duel. And when Frank tells, well, Harmonica asks him that you find out that you're not a businessman anymore, and he said, yeah, no, just a man, an ancient race, and he says like, I didn't come back neither for the money, nor for the land, nor for the woman. Came back for you, and
Yeah, right. Yeah, and I'm Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid as well. Of course. The bond between those two characters is basically the whole purpose of the film.
oh yeah, Wish Casting in Sundance is another great one. It's I think especially amusing because they have like this kind of love triangle with Sundance um, mistress, but it's like Sundance know that there's something between the Bush and his woman, but it's there like they have this perfect romance all the way through.
Yeah, I think she should be more worried about losing him to Butch than the other way around.
Yeah, definitely that's basically how the movie goes. They they the bond that they make through all their their heists and hardships. well, when they're being hunted by this elite group that the owner of the trains that they piss off, like, put together, and I remember this moment where they're about to jump off a cliff into the river, and then Sundance is like, "I'm not gonna jump." And why are you gonna? I can swim. And then Bush
Yeah,
just starts laughing and say like, "Are you kidding? The fall is going to kill you first." And I remember you made a comment about their riding off into the sunset.
yeah. Movie was basically the original Brokeback Mountain.
Yeah, except these are straight cowboys.
Well, that's what they say, anyway.
Yeah, no, I love Bush Cassidy and Sundance Kid, and I remember asking to watch that because the screenplay was written by William Goldman, who is the writer for the book and also the screenplay for The Princess Bride, and as I mentioned, it's one of my favorite films, so I just had to see this one too, and definitely not disappointed. But I think yeah, we have this tendency to pick up on romances or rivalry romances in through the films. If
Yeah,
if we definitely can't miss out on mentioning one of the books that we've all read and enjoyed, and the film adaptation of The Fountainhead. And
oh yeah,
yeah, basically the romance between Rourke and Guinan. That's one of the
yeah. That's a
highlights.
really pronounced example because the female character basically just gets completely ditched by both men. They're so much more interested in one another.
Yeah, that's another
They over
example of an interesting love triangle where Rourke also loves Dominic, but then they Rourke and Wine and go off on a cruise together alone, and
yeah,
they just
yeah,
like have a good day, have a good week. Dominic, we'll see you next time.
yeah. So again, that's an example where she should be more worried about losing Rourke to Winehand than Winehand. Rourke should be worried about losing her to him.
Yeah, definitely. I say that at least on that aspect, the movie did disappoint as an adaptation.
Yeah,
Yeah, definitely, definitely a lot of good examples there.
yeah, and of course this comes from the fact that we have very homoerotic relationship in real life.
We'll be missing the third member of of the love
Yeah, of our
triangle.
love triangle. Yeah,
I think if we're talking also about the cheesiest probably bromance that we've seen is, and also a common recurrent thread in our movie discussions is Interview with the Vampire between Lestat and uh, Louis.
yeah, that's definitely another really excellent example of that. I remember that I commented when we finished watching the movie, a sleazy gay romance for girls.
Yeah, that was it's super amusing. I think I probably enjoyed it more on my rewatch with you, but mostly like on the humorous factor of it.
Yeah, that's a great movie to watch with a friend. I don't think I'd recommend watching it on your own though.
Yeah, it's definitely better watch with another person.
Yeah, preferably a member of the same sex, and you cuddle up with each other while you watch it.
Yeah, that's I think if we are mentioning we have a lot of like buddy movies that we watch that I enjoy a lot. Change Black's Kiss Kiss Bang Bang and The Nice Guys. I know that you might remember Kiss Kiss Bang Bang more, and I probably loved it more too.
They're both kind of a blur to me.
There was Robert Kiss Kiss Bang Bang with also Val Kilmer again
Okay,
in
yeah, I remember
Promise.
his character.
Yeah, Gay Perry.
Yeah, yeah, I remember that character, but I couldn't remember which of those movies he was in.
Yeah, basically Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. Robert Downey Jr. is this guy that has had this relationship with the actress. Uh, well, the Harmony was the character, and she had been like his longtime crush for all. They had known each other since kids, but she always banned every other guy but him. But in the movie, he's very much a lot closer to Gay Perry than he is to her. So in the end, his real love, as you as you mentioned with Jerry Maguire, is not the woman, but actually the other guy he interacts with.
Yeah, which is the only character out of all these ones we've mentioned who is explicitly gay. The rest of them are just implicitly gay.
Indeed. Yeah, no, I think we talk we talk quite a lot about both of the bromances in the films with Watch. We could probably go on a lot more, but
Yeah, well, we could mention Evangelion, episode 24. That is, if there's a one episode character who has like one of the most homoerotic set of interactions with the main character you could possibly imagine, including like taking a shower together and going to bed together.
indeed, that's also a
And it
more
displays a quite a good game on the part of Kaoru, who's trying to pick up Shinji.
yeah, he definitely did a lot better than the girls did. That's for sure.
Yeah.
That's for sure. Yeah, I think I don't know if we have anything else to say about this.
No, I think we've just about covered it.
Okay, then I hope you had fun to hear listening to us talk about all the bromances.
Yeah.
And,
See you
and
next time for Fantastic Mr. Fox.
see you next time.